Web development in the early days used to be just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But today we have plenty of frameworks like React, Vue, and Angular. So now why do we use all these frameworks, right? So new developers might be confused. So if we can just do the same thing with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, what's the use of these frameworks? So basically these frameworks provide a lot of benefits. So out of which I have selected 4 benefits and I'm going to walk through these benefits in this video. So make sure you watch it till the end to find out. The first benefit is that you don't have to handle any DOM operations. So on the left tab, I have this React code right here, which is a JavaScript framework. You can use any framework, the concept is going to be the same. And on the right, we have this vanilla HTML code. Now suppose I want to display a variable, okay? Suppose I have a value in a variable and I want to display the value after this hello world. So what I would do normally in this vanilla HTML, so basically I can create a span tag where I can put an ID, we can say display, then we have to select this element, right? So we have to write JavaScript code. So we have to say script/script. Then we have to get the display element. Display equals to document.get element by ID display. And then what we can do, display.innerHTML equals to whatever the value we have in variable, say greeting equals to say welcome. So whatever greeting we have, we can display it to this element. Now when we go to see the output and reload, we can see hello world welcome. So you can see to just display a value of a variable, we have to write this much of code. Now in case of React, it's very easy. Not just React, it can be any framework, just keep that in mind. So suppose we have here also same variable like greeting equals to welcome. Alright, welcome. Now if you want to display this after hello world, simply we have to put single braces, okay, like this. And within these braces, a pair of braces, simply put the variable. This will automatically handle the DOM operation and it will show you like this, hello world, welcome. So on the left, we have this output of React. On the right, we have this output of HTML. We can change this to anything. Welcome 1, 2, 3, 4. And here also it will update automatically. Hello world, welcome 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So that's the first thing. We don't have to do any DOM operations. Now let me give more examples. So suppose we have a button right here, which we will use to toggle this element. So we can say toggle/button. Now whenever we click this, it should hide and show this element. Okay. So again, we have to add ID here in case of this vanilla HTML. That's how we do it. So we have to add ID or class, whatever it is, to identify this element. So we can say h1, or you can say heading, whatever name you like, you can give here. And again, we have to select this button so that we can detect any clicks here, right? So we can say btn. Now you have to use query selector or get element by ID. You can use anyone. So here we will get element by ID header, this heading, and then here we will get the button. So we can say btn, just change the variable names, heading. Now what we will do, we will add events, okay? We will add event listeners to this button. So we will say button.add event listener, and then simply we will listen for click events, and we will write a function. So whenever there is a click event, you can also use arrow functions if you know ES6, okay? Mostly you'll find that this is used a lot. So whenever we click this, we will first create a state like visible equals to true, right? You also have to maintain state like this by yourself, which is what makes it very difficult and unmanageable. So it's visible by default. So whenever we click, we will change visible to false, but before that we will check if it is visible or not. So if it is visible, then we want to make it invisible. So we will say visible will be false now. Then heading.style.display equals to none. So basically you have to also do the work of updating CSS by yourself. Every single thing you have to do by yourself. Else visible will be true and we will set display to block. So you can see we are toggling this element. So based on this variable, visible or not. Visible is true now. Okay. So we are also updating the variable. So the next time whenever we click this button, the check runs properly. This hello toggle. Let us check now if it is working or not. So we have this small button right here. When we click this, you can see it's hiding and showing this element. Now let us see how easy it is in React. So first we will create a div element here. We will basically be creating 2 elements. So in React, in case of React, you cannot have 2 parent elements. Okay, you cannot return 2 elements. So basically you have to create 1 parent element and then you have to put other elements inside it. Okay, you have to nest the other elements. So now we will basically create a button here and we will say toggle from React. Now here also you can have event listeners, but here it's done through attributes like this. So on click, and here you have to provide a function, the function which will handle the clicks. So here we can directly update the state, whether it's visible or not. So here also we can create a state by importing a function. So I have imported a function called import uState from React. So here we will have two variables. So one is visible and one is set visible. So which will basically be a function that we will be using to update the value of this variable. So we can say here use state, and here to provide a default value, true or false, whatever it is. So just like this HTML code where we kept visible equals to true, this is how you create states in React. Okay, and this is the function which must be used to update the state. You must not update the state directly like this, otherwise the changes will not take place. The DOM operations that will update the output, those things will not work. So here whenever we click, we want to set the visible, we now want to invert the variable. So by default its value is true. So if it was true, we want to make it false. Okay, it will be updated to false, and the next time whenever they click again, it will be updated to true again. Alright, so let us just check this toggle from React. So we can see the button is here. The only thing is that we have to now hide and show this element, just like how we did the style.display none block, like that. So we can do the same here, but it's much easier. So everything in React depends on framework. If you have some Vue.js or other framework, there are directives like vif, etc. So in React, whatever JavaScript logic you want to put, you have to put them between single braces. So here I have this visible variable. Now I can put this ampersand, okay, this notation. So if this visible is true, only then the second expression will be evaluated. So that's why we have put this AND operator. Alright, but if it is false, this will not be shown. Now let's check. By default it is true, we know it. Now when we click, we can now hide and show. Okay, so you can see the code is cleaner and easier to understand compared to this imperative code. So in imperative code, just by looking at it, you cannot understand what it's doing it behind the scenes, right? You have to actually go through the code line by line to understand what it's trying to do. But in case of declarative code, you can clearly see if it is true, this part will be evaluated. If it is false, it will not be evaluated, and so on. Now, another benefit, which is also one of the major benefits, is that it provides a good structure to the project. Okay, it provides you a solid structure for developing medium to large scale projects, so which wouldn't be possible without this kind of frameworks. Suppose you just had these HTML files, a bunch of HTML files, it would be very difficult to reuse the code. Okay, you cannot import the code. All right, so you cannot make proper folders, you cannot organize them that easily, okay, compared to how you can do with these frameworks. So let me just do you a walkthrough. So you can see there are assets where our images and other files, okay, will be stored. Then we have components. So basically components, I'm coming to it in a second. So these are just reusable files, okay, of our code. Then we have context where our app state is managed, okay, app wide state. Then we have pages where they are organized like this, okay. So then there are styles, utils, like that, services. So you can see there is a fixed structure, there is a standard structure which is followed through every project. So it becomes a systematic way of developing projects, and it helps us to understand whenever we work with other developers. Okay, it helps us to collaborate because other developers will also be aware of this kind of project structures. Okay, so basically it gives you a standard structure of developing projects. Another major benefit of using these frameworks is that you can create components. Okay, so what is a component? A component is just a part of an user interface. Okay, so in this user interface of Facebook, as you can see right here, so you can see there are card elements, there are these buttons right here. Okay, so there are these notifications. So this every single item that you can see, this box and this container, is a component. All right, so it's a part of a user interface, you can say. It's a building block of user interface. So now that's the benefit of using framework, which is that you can create this kind of building blocks and then you can reuse them again and again. So normally in HTML what we would do, so if we were to create a card, so we can say there's a card with some title, okay, then there's some description, okay, description 1 2 3 4, title 1 2 3 4, and this is wrapped inside another div element, which is the parent div element, and then here we can have some styling. So we can say class, you can say my card or whatever name you like. Then here we can write our CSS code as usual, dot my card. Then let me add some basic padding like 15 pixels. Let me add some background color. You can say yellow green so that it's properly visible, and then some border 10 pixel. sorry, 1 pixel solid. Don't focus on the styling, just try to understand the benefit that I'm trying to show you using component. So here we have to reload this, so you can see 1 minute, let me create margin at the top and bottom. Margin bottom, okay, margin 10 pixel, so it'll create bottom on both sides. So now if we want to reuse this, we have to simply copy paste this, which is a big problem in HTML. So even if you create this using loops, it is not that reusable like React, which I'm going to show you in a second. So here we can change the title. We can say title 2, here you can say title 3, your description 1, 2, and 3. So you can see we have created 3 cards with 3 different types of strings. Okay, so there are 3 different data that we are trying to output. So the same thing we can do in React much easily. I'm not adding much code here. In reality, in practical scenarios, there will be much more code, okay, and hence it becomes much more practical as well. So in React, we can simply create another file, or in the same file itself, we can create a component. A component is just another function like this, okay, from where we can return this HTML code. So let me create, say, card, or you can say custom card. Whatever name you like, you can give to your component, and from here simply return the HTML code that you would like. So this custom card right here. Oh, by the way, in React, you have to use class name, because class is a reserved word, and this is JavaScript where we are writing this HTML code. So here you have to use class name, just as a small side note. So now if we want to display this, we can simply use it just like a custom tag. So you can create tags on your own like this, custom card, and then you can display them. Of course, the styling is not there. So what you can do, you can import CSS files here in React. Okay, so you can import CSS files right here. So let me quickly create a small CSS file. So test.css, and in this CSS file, I'll simply copy up this code, my card. Alright, then you can simply import whatever CSS file you like this, import /test.css. And if you reload, you can see the style also came here. Just there is no padding on the edges of the body. So for that, you can quickly add it up. So body, you can say padding 30 pixels, or you can add margin. I think margin works in body well. So basically it'll increase the edges. Okay, I think the bootstrap is taking precedence. Let me add importance. Fine. Now the benefit is that you don't have to repeat this code again and again. Once you create a component, you can simply recreate this element like this, just how you create multiple div elements or how you create multiple h1 elements. Okay, you can already see we have created this 3 times. Now if you want to change the data, you can also accept props. Okay, suppose I want to have a custom title and custom description. So here I can accept the title and I can accept the description, just like how we accept variables in functions. So description like this. So here we get title and description. So you can accept these values like this, title and description. Now you have to pass this when you call this component like this, title equals to test1, description equals to test, or you can say desc description 1. Then let's change the numbers. This will be 2 and this will be 3. So you can see we can pass this custom data and then we can reuse the same code right here. So I'm using TypeScript right here, so let me add this any operator. So you can see here also we are having the same output, test2 description 2, test3 description 33. But in HTML the problem was that we had to copy paste multiple times. Now if you have to change this to h1, okay, or if you had to change this to h3, the problem will be that in plain HTML, in every item wherever you used, in every file, in every single page, you have to change this. So that's the big problem, right? But in case of React, you can see in this one HTML element, we have changed this to h3. Okay, we have changed the HTML element to h3 tag. But in case of React, you can see just by changing in one place, you can get the benefits in all of them. And not just that, a component can also have its own state. So this thing cannot be solved by HTML. You might think that you can run this in for loops. That's fine, you can do that. But you cannot have your own state for each of these items. So it's going to be very difficult if you implement in vanilla HTML. It's very easy in React. So suppose here also for each of these buttons, I want to create hide and show. I want to toggle these items, all right? So I want to create show hide button, which will show and hide the content, just like an accordion. So it's going to be very easy right here. So we can also have this kind of state right here. Show, set show, you can give whatever name you like. Then here also we can have a button like this. Let me just create a button. Show slash hide. And whenever we click this, we will update this show variable. So you can see in this component function, I just created a state which will hide and show these two items right here. Let me again wrap this in a div element so that I can toggle them at once. So if it is show, we have added this ampersand operator. So if it is true, only then this will be rendered. Otherwise, this will not be shown at all. Now you can see each of these components have a button, show and hide, and when I click them, each of them maintains their own state. So you can see it's maintaining its own variable of true or false. This is also maintaining its own data right here, whether to show or not. So this thing is not at all possible in HTML, and even if it is possible, it's going to be very much difficult. So that's another benefit. So now you can say that a component is an encapsulated logic where you can have these functions right here. You can also create functions above, okay, to make the code cleaner if the function is going to be large. All right, and you can have state like this inside each of these components. So component can have its own state, its own UI like this, and then you can reuse them like this, and you can send data. You can send different kinds of data using this kind of properties. Okay, they are also called props in React, but in frameworks you can have different frameworks. From framework to framework it differs, but the basic logic is going to stay the same. Whenever you use this kind of frameworks like React and Vue.js, you get access to a rich community of tools, okay, and libraries compared to this normal HTML. Let me demonstrate you two of them. So suppose I change any of my code, this whatever. So in normal HTML, what will I have to do? I'll have to reload this page, right, to see the changes. I have to reload this page, only then these changes come here. In case of React, there is this auto reloader. So whenever I change this code right here, so we can say welcome 1 2 3 4. So let me change to welcome ZZZ. So whatever it is, I have changed the code here. You will see it auto reloads and shows me the output. So this is just one tool, and in case of libraries, you have access to a ton of libraries and a good developer community. So basically there are a lot of developers who make libraries and code for React, which you can easily integrate into your projects without having to rewrite the code again and again, right? So one example will be React Toastify. So suppose, imagine that you have to create toast. Toast are basically just like alert dialog boxes. So let me just create React Toast. React Toastify. So you can see there's a library here, React Toastify. So you have to simply install this using npm install React Toastify. Then you can integrate in your projects. So let me just show you up. I have already installed this package. So I will create import toast from React Toastify. React Toastify. Now suppose, imagine that I have created the button, say show toast, or maybe say submit. So whenever I click this button, I want to display a toast. So I can simply say toast.success alert. I can create a success alert like this, submitted successfully. All right, now let us check this out. So whenever we open this code and when we click the submit button, you can see submitted successfully. So you can see a nice UI with all these integrated functionalities. We can easily get them using this kind of libraries. So not just this, there are a lot of rich libraries which you can integrate into your projects, which is not possible in this normal HTML. Yes, here you can include scripts like Bootstrap and other simple libraries, but it's not as rich as how it's done in React. So in short, we can conclude that development using JavaScript frameworks help us to create more complex applications, and also it helps us to create more manageable apps, right? So if we had done with this normal HTML, it's not at all manageable and it's missing a lot of tools and libraries. So these are the benefits you get using React. Thank you for watching this video.